Hey, everybody. Today we're going to talk about AAVE and some of these other centralized lending protocols and how I think that a lot of them could be doomed to the same fate as Terra Luna. In my opinion, Terra Luna is just the first of many cryptos that are going to crash down to zero. If you want to see my video on Terra Luna, there's a link right up here, and you can hear my prognosis on Luna from a few weeks ago. All right, so let's talk about AAVE. Aave, I chose to pick on Aave because Aave is one of the decentralized protocols that have been around the longest in relative terms, and it is largely considered to be very secure. Um, we're going to talk about the shortfall risk. So, shortfall, what is a shortfall? Event means in relation to any cash settlement date that the adjusted cash settlement amount is equal to or greater than the liquidation process of the aggregate principal amount. So, what this means is that the depositors deposit $100, and instead of the assets that the borrowers were putting up as collateral get liquidated, and that liquidation threat amount is $100 or less. So the liquidations do not cover the deposits that the lenders put up. And this can lead to problems in terms of trust. If you're putting up your money and then the liquidated capital that the borrower is putting up is getting liquidated and not equaling the capital that you let them lend, you're taking a hit on your investment and trust will be lost. So Aave has this uh, security mechanism where you can see right here, if you the in the instance of a shortfall event, part of the locked Aave are auctioned off to the open market and sold against the assets needed to migrate the occurred deficit. The SM includes a built-in backstop mechanism to prevent excess flow of AAVE into the open market that would further reduce the value of AAVE itself. Participants' decision to lock AAVE into the SM security mechanism assumes that the acceptance potential of shortfall event as they secure the protocol in return for receiving rewards from the safety incentives and fee distribution. So what does this mean? Aave has this staking mechanism on their platform where you can also do governance and vote based on what you want in the next coming updates, where you stake your Aave in case there's one of these shortfall events. So you can stake your Aave, earn 8.2% APR, and in return, your risk is that 30% of your staked Aave can be slashed to cover the deficit in case of a shortfall event. Now, the problem with this is multifold. There's first of all, there's the token yield paradox where Aave, the token that is supposed to be there as the backstop security mechanism, is what the participants are taking their yield and staking and then selling in order to recognize their gains, which is supposed to be the insurance mechanism. So you're incentivizing people to hold their Aave, stake their Aave, earn yield on their Aave to earn more Aave. But what happens when the price of Aave sells off by 30% and that $300 million they have in their security mechanism gets sold off? Now, the price of Aave right now hasn't had one of those shortfall events, and it's already down off the all-time high 85%. So what I'm saying is, what happens when this $300 million treasury gets called upon and they sell it off into the open market? The price tanks from 83. If nothing else were to happen, the price would tank from, say, 83 down to 60. But then you have now the new fear and lost trust in the protocol itself that leads to a death spiral similar to what happened with Terra Luna. So, like I was saying, the open market Aave holders will panic and likely sell as well, creating that death spiral. That token yield paradox, where tokens are what you take the yield in, and then what people sell when they want to recognize their gains, is a big problem when that's also supposed to be your security mechanism. Now, Aave has one of the highest insurance amounts of them all, from what I've seen. Who knows how much things like BlockFi, Celsius, Coinbase, and others have these centralized borrowing and lending protocols on insurance? Coinbase, the recent Coinbase doc you guys might have heard about in the last few weeks, stating that your crypto is the secured depositor's crypto in bankruptcy. So basically, any crypto that you leave on the exchange could be part of the bankruptcy estate, and you could see cents returned to you on the dollar because the rest of it will go to secured depositors. Now, AAVE has a lot of these shortfall risk problems listed here. So, shocks to the market, um, prices of collateral that cause the contract to become insolvent. So, basically, the collateral you put up decreases in value and doesn't cover the loan to value ratio anymore, and it gets liquidated, but it gets liquidated too low, so that 30% is need to call upon in order to uh, give the depositors what they put up originally back. Loss of liquidity in an external marketplace, leading to a liquidator being disincentivized to liquidate defaulted capital. So, lack of liquidity in the system, this is a problem in crypto as a whole. There's some exchanges that don't have as much liquidity as others. Cascade and liquidation. So, this is where you have those giant drops like in March of 2020, where everything sells off all at once and all of a sudden the collateral is not worth anything. And insolvency of a safety module due to extreme events where multiple collateral types can currently fail to be liquidated. So a bunch of cryptos crash at once. So this could also be a problem from an Oracle. So Oracle gets hacked and then the prices get misdisplayed, collateral gets liquidated. I don't think all of these different risks are segregated from one another. I think shocks in the market, lack of liquidity, cascades and liquidations, and insolvency of the safety due to extreme events where collateral types can currently fail to be liquidated, they all kind of happen at the same time. Oracle gets hacked or something, price of something gets mislisted, sends a shock to the market. Everyone tries to sell off all at once. All of a sudden, there's no liquidity in the system, cascades of liquidation, and there's no capital to cover the losses. So then they have to go to the AAVE treasury and sell off that 30%, which causes a further cascade in the price fall. So, like I was saying, just this up here is just one of the major risks that I talked about. But like I said, AAVE in their document talks about those four risks: the security. It's later on in this article they mention these four. Copy and pasted from the article: the security, the governance, the market, and the Oracle risk. And how I think these are actually more like one big risk where one thing bleeds into all the other ones, and they're linked in a much larger way than the protocol really talks about. Another point, where are these yields coming from? So Aave, if you go and you look at the APY you can gain on these 2%. I've seen these as high, some of these back last year as high as 18-20% on some of these stables. And then you could switch around to the different networks and such. But where are these yields coming from? And it's people putting up their crypto as collateral to borrow crypto to buy more crypto. So they're basically just levering up their crypto to buy more of the same crypto. So when the price of that crypto falls and it gets liquidated, now they're levered up to the extreme. And so they're getting liquidated 3 times the amount they would if they just had it. If they were just holding it, it would have just gone down in value. But now they have it tripled levered up, and all of that gets liquidated at once, dumping it onto the market all at once, leading to all of these other issues. And I don't see how this is much different than the current financial system, to be honest, especially when they're trying to onboard traditional finance and institutions to things like Aave. Traditional finance is largely levered up to the extreme, and that's kind of one of the problems of the current system. So now, if you're going and just recreating this with crypto, I don't see how you're really solving any problems with it. You're kind of just creating another casino where people can go and borrow money to bet on different altcoins that are all controlled by insiders, anyways. Now that brings me to my next point. I wanted to talk about some of the centralized ones. Anchor is one of the big ones. This one was pretty much a Ponzi from the get go, where they're offering this 20% on UST. How did that work out? UST is now worth what? 8 cents on the dollar it's supposed to be. Look at that healthy chart. This is another one that kind of failed when that Terra thing collapsed. Um, and that had been going on for a while and without any hiccups. And then one day, all of a sudden, Terra crashed, and now all of a sudden, it's worth nothing. I also wanted to talk about Celsius. where is all of these crazy yields coming from? Same thing. People borrowing crypto or putting up crypto as collateral to borrow crypto in order to buy more crypto and bet on that crypto price going up. There's also rumors on Celsius of double lending. So the collateral underlying the lending amount doesn't actually cover the amount total lent. So they're lending out, you have $100 deposited and they're lending it out $200, $100 to one person, $100 to another person. So if both of them default at the same time, the underlying collateral is not enough. Um, Also, if and I want to talk about the price of the Cell token. They're selling. This is a token largely owned by a lot of insiders and venture capitalists who have just been dumping it like crazy since the start of it. And it's the same thing. They have this weird loyalty program where you put up different amounts of Cell and you can get higher bonus interest and loan discounts. And you're also incentivized to use Cell to pay and use Cell to take your interest earned if you're putting up collateral or putting up deposits to be lent out as a loan. You can take it in Cell and earn a higher rate of interest on it. So, but if you're taking that higher rate of interest and then you're down 85, 90% off the all-time high, how is it that you're not even making any money if you're holding onto this token and then you're getting that 8% APY, but then the token falls by 80 or 90%, you're not actually really earning any interest on it whatsoever. That's closer to 0.1% when you factor in the price decline, which you can get in any old bank account, which is an extremely low interest rate, but at least in your bank account, you know it's FDI insured and relatively safe. You're holding on to the melting ice cube of the US dollar in your bank account, and you at least don't have to worry about it going to zero and being sold off by insiders, even though that is kind of happening with the US dollar. This brings me to my last point. Why, if this is something that there's such a need for this decentralized lending and borrowing protocol, why not just create a layer 2 or 3 protocol over Bitcoin to borrow and lend? That way the underlying asset isn't pre-mined or run by insider venture capital money, like Celsius, AAVE, and a lot of these other tokens are. I didn't dig into the token distribution, but a lot of these tokens are owned by a very small group of people who will dump the token onto the market regardless of what the price is because you get it at $0 before the token's even listed on any exchanges. I hope this has made you do a double take on the risks of AAVE and some of these other centralized lending protocols and really made you consider the risk of them before you put your money into it. I think the only true asset worth holding over the long term is Bitcoin. I myself do speculate on altcoins because they are basically levered up Bitcoin where you can earn insanely high multiples of your money on it over the short term, but I believe really in the long term, a lot of them will go to zero. And they are all plagued by by the same issues, which is insider money, venture capital money that will sell at any price that don't really provide much value to the actual open market. And it's kind of just a money grabbing scheme. Hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like and a comment. See you soon.